Rise for invocation by Pastor Dan Wagner, Cross Creek Community Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for pinch hitting tonight.
Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together, Lord. We thank you for this beautiful city we have and for the leadership you've blessed us with, Lord. Now give us your guidance, your wisdom, and your abiding knowledge as we go forth and make decisions for this city. May we trust you and may you guide us each and every step of the way. We thank you and we praise you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk call the roll?
Present.
Here.
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 Here, that's all of us. We have a quorum. Item 4, public comments on the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items 5 through 12. If anybody would like to comment on any of those items right now would be the time. There being nobody, I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. We have an agenda for this evening. We need the consent agenda approved.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 6 through 12. If you would call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stoltenberg.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burdette.
Yes. Now, we know for a fact that the rest of the evening will not go quite that fast. With that, council is in recess in time for the CRA, the Community Development Agency of Port Orange Town Center. Regular meeting agenda. Call the roll.
Stan Schmidt. Marilyn Ford.
Yes. Present.
Chase Tremont.
Here.
Drew Bastian.
Here.
Scott Steltner.
Here.
John Burnett.
Here.
Ray Donadio.
We have a quorum.
So Mayor, your chair and vice chair are not here for this board, so.
So by motion, we can select the person to lead this meeting?
I'll entertain such a motion.
I move to nominate Vice Mayor Chase Tremont.
Second.
Got a script?
Yes, call the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You're hired.
He was the only guy in a suit.
Meeting adjourned.
Careful of that gavel.
That was a joke.
Need a motion?
Yeah. Joe. All right, what do I do?
Well, there's item 1, and you're going to need a motion to approve the minutes.
Item 1, motion to approve the minutes from March 16th, 2019.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have Resolution 19-1, proposal of the Port Orange Town Center CRA Tax Increment District FY20 operating budget. Entertain a motion to approve the operating budget.
So moved.
Hold on, point of order, Mr. Chair. I need to read the resolution into the record.
All right, where's that at? Where's that, is that resolution on here?
Yep, here's that one. If, Mr. Chair, just a suggestion, if you can't find it right away, you might ask if the attorney has it ready and she could read it in for you.
Actually, I'm having technical difficulty tonight on that item.
Thank you.
I can't get it pulled up,
I don't have that showing.
Or you can ask Penny to come to the rescue.
as
I'm
always.
I'm happy to do it. A resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency for Port Orange Town Center, Volusia County, Florida, recommending adoption of the tentative Town Center Tax Increment District operating budget for fiscal year October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, setting forth anticipated sources of revenue in the estimated amount of $474,021, setting forth expenditures in an equivalent amount, providing for amendments, providing for appropriation and procedures, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve, come on, Resolution 19-1.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Should we do a roll call or
Well, you might want to ask if there's any discussion for the item.
any discussion on the item? There being none,
Now, you might want to ask if anyone from the public wants to speak to it.
why don't I do that? Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to this? Thank you.
Good job, Chase.
All right,
Back to us.
back to us.
I don't think you have any other comments up here. I think you're safe to call the roll.
Okay, well, we'll call the roll, please. Will the clerk call the roll?
Member Ford,
Yes.
Member Tremont,
Yes.
Member Bastian,
Yes.
Member Stiltner.
Yes.
Member Burnett.
Yes. Now you might want to announce the
Yep.
vote.
Oh, yes.
It was 5-0.
Resolution passes 5-0.
Okay.
We'll take public comments on anything pertaining to the Community Redevelopment Agency Center. There being done, any comments from the board?
Nothing.
Okay. There being none, I'll move to adjourn the, I don't move to adjourn the
No, you
meeting.
didn't, you just declare it.
I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for all being here for that.
It's not as easy as it looks, huh?
No,
With that-
especially with no practice.
Well, that's okay. Now it's Drew's turn.
Honor,
because
thank
it's
you,
time for the
thank you, Mr.
Esports CRA
Stillman.
meeting.
Yes.
Yo,
I'm getting there.
take the gavel. Take the gavel.
God, I appreciate that.
And
your resume.
there we go.
Dinner is not on me.
All right, we will declare this meeting called to order. Discussion action, approval of minutes from the March 26, 2019 meeting.
Move to approve Eastport CRA minute.
Oh,
Oh, roll call.
because he already
I
did.
recommend you do a roll call.
Can the clerk call the roll, please?
Come on.
Chase Tremont,
Here.
Drew Bastian.
Here.
Scott Stiltner.
Here.
Tom Burnett,
Here?
Marilyn Ford.
Here.
Move to approve the Eastport CRA meeting minutes from 3/26/19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? There being none, can you call the roll, please?
You're not going to let us comment?
Oh, board member comments, okay.
Okay. I have none.
There you go. We call the roll on the resolution, please.
It's a.
Or the minutes,
Yeah,
yeah.
voice vote.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There being none, the minutes are approved. We're going to move on to the resolution. Should I get this up?
You got it? You need it?
Nope, got it.
Okay.
Okay. Resolution number 19-1, Eastport. A resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency for Eastport Business Center, Volusia County, Florida, recommending adoption of the tentative Eastport Tax Increment District operating budget for the fiscal year October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, setting forth anticipated sources of revenue and the estimated amount of $247,615, setting forth expenditures in an equivalent amount, providing for amendments, providing for appropriations and procedures, and providing an effective date.
Move to approve resolution 19-1 Eastport.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion from any comments from the public? From the board? You have anything, Mayor? No?
You're doing great, sir.
Okay. And can we call the roll on the reso, please?
Member Tremont,
Yes.
Member Stiltner.
Yes.
Member Burnett,
Yes.
Member Ford,
Yes.
Member Bastian.
Yes. Motion passes, the resolution passes unanimously. Okay, move on to, Mayor, do we need to go through the budget?
No, that's part of the resolution.
Okay. Eastport Center, proposed budget amendments, all right. Any public comments, any comments from the public on the Eastport budget? There being none, any further comments from the board? There being none, we can move on, and I'll adjourn the meeting. Pass that back to the mayor.
Not bad. I'll give you guys your grades later on.
Okay.
With that, it brings us to citizen participation. Professor Marcy Kinney. You betcha.
I'm here really just to bring some awareness to you guys of a great program that we have going on in Port Orange. About 5 years ago, me and some of my colleagues from Daytona State, I am actually at Bethune-Cookman University, Daytona State, the Early Learning Coalition, there's a whole bunch of people in Daytona, wanted to bring the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to Volusia County, and we did. We started out in Daytona. The mayor of Daytona was very helpful in sponsoring the beginning of the program, and about a year and a half ago we were able to bring it to Port Orange, which is fantastic. This is one of the cities we've really been focused on trying to raise funds for. The good news is Port Orange is an amazing community, and everyone embraced the program. So we have, of 2,000 kids, about 508 coming from Port Orange. The program, if you're not familiar with it, it provides books to children from birth to age 5. They receive 1 book a month mailed to their home until they turn 5, so they get 60 books if they start at birth. All children receive the same books. If they're born in different years, the books that they receive change. The books are all chosen by a team of literacy experts at Vanderbilt, so they're not just any books that are given to kids. The program's free of charge to anybody who wants to sign up for it. So there's no requirements. It's any baby that's born into this area. The benefits are amazing. Kids have shared literacy experiences. They have books in their home. If they don't already have books, even if they do have books, now they have more books. And we know the benefits of early literacy for everyone in our community. So I'm here just to share that with you and let you know that we're here. One of our biggest challenges is funding. So what we're finding in Port Orange is it's an awareness piece, and so we want to let everyone know that we're here. It's an amazing program. It's 100% funded through donations. So my purpose in being here tonight is to share with you. We were planning to have a golf tournament, and I know some of you received the email, in November. Then we had the hurricane, some other things came up. We've decided to move it to the spring. So my hope is, by coming here and sharing it with you now, that you can put it on your calendar. We'll have a date within the next week or so, or when we're going to be doing it in the spring. It will be at Crane Lakes, so it's going to be local. Our goal is to get as many people out playing as we can so we can bring some awareness to the need in Port Orange. That's it.
Question for
Yes.
you. For folks out there listening, and for myself, frankly, because I've got a 3 and a 5-year-old.
Uh-huh.
How do they sign up to get those books?
You can do one of two things. You can go on to you can Google Dolly Parton Imagination Library and go to her main website, and you can search. There's a link that says, "Can I sign my child up?" It's on the main page. It takes you to a page where all you have to put in is your child's birth date and your address, and they sign you up. Your information all goes through the Early Learning Coalition, so the other option you have is to call the Early Learning Coalition, and they'll sign you up there too. So you have a couple different ways to do it.
Terrific organization.
It's really, we just need to get some awareness out there about it. So any other questions? I brought you guys some information too. Can I leave it with you? Thank you.
Yeah, leave that with the clerk. I was just going to say, Dr. Kinney, when you get that date, send it to us for the golf tournament.
Definitely. It will be within the next week or so. We just made that
And if you want to
decision.
come back and do this again and tell us about the
I
date.
will. I will.
Do
I
it that
definitely
way.
will. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. Council comments. Well, we start with you, Marilyn.
Oh, okay. Well, I wore a Port Orange University shirt because I want to give a shout out to all of the citizens. I think there's about 30 that are in the class. I joined them last night, and I also want to recognize staff. Last night we were at the water treatment plant, which is phenomenal. And I just want to encourage everybody who's never gone through the program. It's about 9 weeks. And you learn everything about the city to really think about it for next year. And I want to congratulate staff who are putting it on, but especially the citizens that have shown the dedication to do it. And I'll be joining them again at some other sessions. But it's just terrific. And so shout out to Port Orange University. And I know Christine Martindale, our PIO, had a lot to do with the developing the program with the support of the manager.
Very good. Case?
Yeah, just a quick one. A word of compliment. I got a call from our buddy Dwight, who usually sits in that chair right back there. Was not able to make it today, but wanted me to express his appreciation. Lynn Stevens and the department had several guys were called out for an issue that he was having with his home, and they were there within minutes, walked them through the entire problem, very informative, and he was just extremely appreciative of that. So my compliments to your staff and your leadership, and that's what I love. We hear so many complaints. We're always the first call to get when things are going bad. So it's nice to get a call when things go well, and situations like that are highlighted. So well done.
Drew?
You got a healthy agenda? I got nothing for you tonight.
Scott, I'm sure that you have something to say about what we just did before council.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah, I
you would.
just wanted to thank everybody this afternoon at 5 o'clock. For those that aren't aware, we had a naming ceremony for the boat ramps at the Port Orange Causeway Park, and have renamed those the Frank Schofield Memorial Boat Ramps after Senior Deputy Frank Schofield, who was tragically killed a couple of months ago. Just want to say thank you to everybody on the council for supporting that. Incredible, overwhelming turnout today for that naming ceremony. Also want to thank Christine and everybody in the staff that was involved in putting that together today. A lot of very positive comments. And just as a side note, that is just one incredible place in our city. It's always nice to get down in the River District, Maryland's district, but that whole park and that whole facility, you just look around and you see our residents enjoying it, getting outdoors, and so kudos to staff for everything they do to make those parks not only safe but also a very enjoyable place for our residents to go. So great job by everybody. That's all I got.
That's all you got? Okay. A couple things that I got. I just wanted to remind everybody, September, we're wearing gold. We issued a proclamation a couple weeks ago. This is the first time we've met on a Tuesday in quite a while. I think the last 3 meetings we had on different nights and mornings for different reasons. But we issued a proclamation declaring September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Port Orange. And wear gold, wear your gold ribbons, but you think about our children. 1 in 285 children, not 285,000. 1 in 285 are going to experience childhood cancer. That's a startling statistic. There are going to be 15,800 new diagnoses in our country just this year. Startling statistic. And I'm hoping that gold becomes as synonymous with September as pink does with October, and really do our part to raise awareness for it, and give and remember that whenever somebody deals with cancer, you think about the kid, but it affects so many more lives than that. It affects entire families up and down the ladder. So it was really great to see some of those people come in a couple weeks ago and have them be recognized. So just wanted to mention that. Secondly, Jake, I really wanted to pass on my compliments to you and the entire staff for what ended up being mostly a live drill, but for 50 miles, but our response in preparation for Hurricane Dorian. I'm glad it was nothing more than a live drill. I know we learned some things from it so that we could do it a lot better, but next time around, it was slow in coming, slow in getting here, and it was tantalizingly close without doing any real harm to us. Unfortunately, we were lucky and not everybody else was, and in another few days, the Bahamas might see another hurricane, hopefully not, but I just wanted to thank you and your staff. It is amazing how quick we can flip the switches and get into mode and be ready. But you guys did just a fabulous job, and I just wanted to thank you and all of them.
I'll pass it to those that aren't here, but you know that the staff does all the work. I just get on Facebook every 5 o'clock and give them an update. That's about it. So
Appreciate it. Well, there's an awful lot to update, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts,
There is.
and really, I've got to thank the entire council up here, because all of you up here did a lot to help communicate things to people when there were questions asked and the like. Whether it be just following Port Orange City Hall on Facebook and getting the information out to our own social media, or getting messages out, getting questions answered. Scott, you're very active. All of you. Chase, it was good getting to drive around with you the day after and taking a look at things down on the water side, and we were glad to see that everything was still there. But it's truly a team effort when we go through something like that. I'm glad that it was nothing more than a live drill, because certainly it was so slow in coming. It was there were people who stocked up on supplies, used them, and several days later went and got some more, because it took so long for, and we don't always get that ability. So we can't let our guard down just yet. There's still some time left in hurricane season. And until that time is done, let's move on merrily with our lives with just a scant eye towards the Weather Channel from here on as we go. You wanted to add something to it?
One more quick thing, real quick. Are you done with that?
I was done with that.
Okay. I just wanted to make note too that Governor DeSantis has placed up on his radar the need to get the legislature to implement some stricter penalties for cities and communities that are dumping untreated wastewater into protected waterways, and also I think there's going to probably be some issues there with even the treated stuff that's been. And I just want to tell you how proud it makes me to know that Port Orange is so far ahead of that concept, that idea. I mean, it really is. I read several articles out of Tampa, South Florida, Jacksonville area. These communities are going to be scrambling all over the state of Florida to figure out how not to do what they've been doing that's been damaging our waterways all across the state of Florida. And I spend a lot of time on waterways, and I tell you what, it is a really prideful thing to know that this city, way before any of my time and most of us up on the dais, had the vision back in the 90s to start laying the groundwork to do something. And I sent that video link that we have the other day, and Dr. Shortell from St. John's Water Management hits it right on the head in that video. She says that Port Orange is 10 years ahead of all the other communities in the state of Florida. And it's amazing. I mean, it's just really, really, those are things. I know that Marilyn talked about the Port Orange University. Those folks are going to get to go see that and understand what that really is. And that was a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money. What I want to bring up is that I want to look for opportunities to support the governor on this, because one of the things about what we've done is we've done our part. But if everybody up and down, Volusia, Flagler County, Brevard, if they're not all doing the same, our part really is somewhat for naught to a certain degree. All those communities got to get on board, and I think that they're headed in the right direction.
We
So
spend a lot of time and money getting our treated water away from the river.
absolutely.
That's the plan, not to send it to the river. And I know we've got a neighbor of the source that, now granted, it's treated water,
Right.
but 8 million gallons a day into the river.
Well, and the nutrient load is just a lot.
Yes.
And I just don't know that the ecosystem can sustain that. So anyway, I just wanted
They're
to
working on it.
quickly mention that I think that's great to see, and whatever we as a council can do to support that initiative in Tallahassee, we should do that for sure.
So you can be leaders by having the intestinal fortitude to move forward with the septic to sewer program. That is the next vision, and if we've already started it, but it's tough to convince somebody that it's worth $5,000 to save Spruce Creek, to save the Halifax River, when they go down there and they don't see what we are doing to it. So, I push that septic to sewer every year, and I push it because Lynn's on me to push it, and Lynn's on me to push it because environmentally it's the right thing to do, but it costs money.
Right.
So we have an education campaign. It's a little bit different than Orman's education campaign, but we're moving forward to that. I think we have a program coming up. It's septic to sewer and Ponce, right? So we have that Ponce Inlet program right now. Our sewer system, their city, and we're doing it because it's what's best for our waterway.
Good word. Thanks, man.
Anything else? Marilyn, I just want to say thanks for bringing up Port Orange University. That is a jewel of the staff, and we don't talk about it up here near enough. That takes us to item 14 under board appointments, interviews, and reports. This is an advisory committee for the TPO. Mr. Bobby Ball.
Hello, Bobby Ball with the CAC for the TPO. first I want to say nice ceremony this afternoon. That was
Thank you.
pretty nice. I think your staff did a really cool job of putting it together pretty quick.
did.
So.
Always do.
We had our monthly meeting for the CAC, and it's kind of a, forgive the term, boring in many ways because it's a lot of updates and a lot of stuff we really see all the time and over again. But I think the best part where I can serve you in the city is to be on the subcommittees and the things that actually do the rankings and do the things that put our projects up top. So with that said, I am on the long range transportation plan subcommittee for the rankings. So that's really what we talked about today was the LRTP, and we got the their plan for the public involvement. And if you can't feel like you've got an input on the transportation plan, there's something wrong, because there's got to be 20 or 30 meetings you can go to weigh in on the process. So with that said, I'll answer any questions, but that's all I've got tonight.
Any questions for Bobby? There being none?
It's going to be a pretty competitive world in that, or
Yeah.
arena in
gonna
that
get more
world for
so.
sure.
Yes, sir.
Going to get more so than ever. So appreciate you staying on top of it.
Thank you.
I do think we benefit from having some shovel-ready projects, so when it gets toward the end of the year and they say, ooh,
Yeah.
Tim's ready to execute if required, usually, or usually a couple ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby.
Item 15 is second reading of ordinance number 2019-26. Ordinance number 2019-26 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property consisting of approximately plus or minus 18.72 acres located on the east side of South Williamson Boulevard, south of Oakwater Lane, from Cypress Head Plan Commercial Development to the Palms at Ashen Lakes PCD, and approving a master development agreement and conceptual development plan for the Palms and Ashen Lakes PCD, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-26.
Now, second?
We have a motion and a second. The item is on the floor for discussion. Penny, you want to recap what we're doing real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a quick update. Penelope Cruz Planning. So we're second reading, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. But based on council's feedback at first reading, just wanted to just update everybody in the public that the concept plan was revised. The concept plan that's in your packet and attached to the ordinance reflects the restricted right turn that council voted on with signage and curbing. So that's there. The applicant's here if you have any additional questions regarding that. But based on that feedback, that has been revised and is part of your ordinance tonight.
Excellent.
Any questions of Penny from any of us? Any questions for the applicant from any of us? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? Come on up.
Walter Smith, president of the Ashton Lakes HOA. We'd just like to thank Mr. Watts and his client for their efforts in making that right turn only and the signage. And we're quite satisfied with it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Back to council. Further comments or questions? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 16 is second reading of ordinance number 2019-29. Ordinance number 2019-29 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning property consisting of approximately plus or minus 0.64 acres from commercial industrial, CI, to government public use, GPU, located at 415 Herbert Street, authorizing revision of the official zoning atlas and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-30.
Second.
We have a motion second. Council, comments or questions?
Is that one 2019-29 or 30?
That's 29.
29.
29. You want to amend your motion?
Excuse me, yeah, I'll amend my motion to say ordinance 2019-29.
Kind of helps if you're motioning for the one that was read, right? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? Second reading, the.
No, I need to amend mine then to include, because I seconded, so.
So you amended your
I'll
second?
second too. So it's current. I'm waiting
Got
for
that,
Robin to
Robin?
nod to make sure we're cool.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No? Okay, because you're furiously typing. I just want to make sure that the record is straight right now. There we go. Any other comments, council?
The only one I would have with Mayor, I do like the idea that we're trying to save something historic, and I would encourage the city grant manager. I know that the paragraph talks about the city working with the Historic Trust to seek funding to develop the bus depot, the train depot. And I would encourage the city staff, as they have time where there's opportunities, to help the Historical Trust, because, you know, those are citizen volunteers, and the talented staff we have may be in a better position to see, you know, some funding opportunities out there, because I think it'd be a great opportunity for our city to have this, particularly next to the gardens. So,
Yeah,
and-
we bought it with grant funding, and we moved it with grant funding, and we'll continue to,
Perfect.
to, you know, utilize those avenues to try to get it.
Okay. No other comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stelter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 17 is second reading of ordinance number 2019-30. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving the First Amendment to the Riverwalk Amended and Restated Master Development Agreement, MDA, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-30.
I will second that. Items open for discussion. Council comments or questions? There being none, would anyone here care to speak to this item? There being none, last bite of the apple, council?
I just a quick comment that I happened to be down in the Stewart area a couple of weeks ago for an unrelated family matter, but made it a point to try to swing by the restaurant down there that the gentleman spoke about a few weeks ago before council. Pretty neat stuff. Packed, lot of entertainment going on, great crowd. It looked like something that would fit in extremely well in this area and do very, very well too. So incredibly well organized with their parking. Everything was clean, looked nice. I didn't see anything at all that really would raise any kind of concern with something like that being in our community and in the area. So just
Good to know.
good positive stuff all the way around. Didn't get a chance to stay for dinner, but got a good look at everything and liked what I saw.
I did want to add to that, you brought that up, Scott, appreciate that. The one concern that I have in pertaining to that particular project, if it would come here, would be any sort of noise that might carry. You know, just a resident contacted and said, hey, and every time there's a band out there at Riverwalk, I hear it loud and clear. They just want that assurance that that's not going to be the situation with this, and obviously it wouldn't be.
That is not an assurance.
I'm not going to assure anything. I know we have a noise ordinance in place.
We have a noise ordinance, and it will follow the noise ordinance, but there's no assurance that noise is not going to emanate from the
From a
restaurant
commercial district,
and
yeah.
in a commercial district, right?
No, they're just referring to the music being heard as loud as it would be from the Riverwalk Park, which I assure would, which probably wouldn't from the
Right.
from the stage.
Possibly would.
Yeah.
Well, then I have a concern with that. You know,
Okay.
I don't want people's quietness of their home on their deck being disturbed by that. So we'll tackle that when it
Where's
gets
the
to
closest deck to? It'd be across the river.
it. Sorry.
The closest home would
the
be.
sound would travel the most across the river.
Yeah.
But there are those condos next to Riverwalk Park.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's going to be right now, there's some existing homes still in the corner Ocean and US 1 that may be affected. But that's been zoned that way for quite some time, and we do have noise ordinances. We have a lot of people that live next to restaurants that play live music, and that they're living in the same situation. As a matter of fact, there's Chief, where is it? Clyde Morris? Nova. There's a restaurant in Nova that plays music till 9:59, 10 o'clock.
Yep,
And we have a
you can hear it at my
resident.
house.
We have the mayor, and we also have a resident from our neighboring city who would sit out there and have their police department with the noise meters checking on it, and we were always within. But at 10 o'clock, they shut down, and everybody was happy. So
Almost always.
that's you know, I'm sure the restaurant will try to be good neighbors, but
I'm
that
sure
that
they
is not a
will.
guarantee.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
so
we
would
will.
say-
And we-
I would share with you, just so the one down in Stewart, we haven't seen a plan obviously for a potential site here, but the one down in Stewart is a 2-story facility, and the way they have their live entertainment positioned, it faces back toward the building, so the building almost serves as like a barrier. And the neighborhoods down there are really close. Literally, when you walk out the front door into the parking lot, there's homes right there. And when you go out there, you can't really hear the live entertainment. In fact, you hear boats, planes, traffic, stuff like that way more than you can hear the music. So that would just be something, you know, when they bring plans forward for us to look at the positioning of where their live entertainment would be.
Absolutely.
I think we do the best we can, but we also recognize that we've been trying to develop this commercial district for 22 years now.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
I think that is no secret to anybody in Port Orange, that we've been trying frantically for 22 years to do something down
Yeah,
there.
and you know, it certainly wouldn't be a situation where we would oppose what's going in. I want to bring that to the attention. So, and our developers has always been good working with our staff to accommodate the wishes of the residents at the time. So, just bringing it up. I'm sure we'll visit that later.
Very good. Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes. Item 18 is the final plat and subdivision plans for the Springs at Port Orange. The recommended motion is to approve the final plat and subdivision plans for the Springs at Port Orange as recommended by the Planning Commission. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. The item is open on the floor for discussion. Welcome back.
Hi, I'm back. Penelope Cruz Planning. In 2018, as you know, the Springs Apartment site plan was approved. The site plan was for the overall 29.5 acres. The developer at that time indicated up front that their plan was to come back later and subdivide the property to create a separate parcel for the apartment complex and then 2 commercial out parcels. And when that site plan was designed, it was designed with that configuration in mind to ensure that it met all the city's code requirements for subdivisions. Oops, wrong way. The associated infrastructure that's typically included with a subdivision is already under construction and will be completed with phase 1 of the apartment site. That includes all the underground infrastructure, stormwater, roadway improvements. And then as far as access, lot 1 and 3 will be accessed off a shared driveway off of North Summer Trees Road. Lot 2 will be accessed off Williamson. And at the time Lot 2 is developed, the driveway, the drive aisle will be constructed along the edge of Lot 2 that will provide emergency-only access to Lot 1 as well as the adjacent White Palm Apartments. So with that, staff is recommending approval and is here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, council? Start with you, Scott.
No, I don't have anything.
Drew?
No, I don't have anything on this one.
Chase?
2, 3.
Mayor.
Jake?
Thank you. I just want a substantive comment added to the record that in this day and age, we're seeing in the newspaper all the time about what is smart growth and the definition of smart growth, and cities aren't complying with smart growth, and this is one of those, or 50% of a project where we took traffic into consideration and moved trips away from the Dunlawton interchange area by swapping a little bit of zoning and future land use from this property and the property on the corner of Willow Run and Williamson down away from the interchange a little bit. So this is one of those times where council and staff and two different, or a landowner and developer came together to do what was best for the city, yet meet the needs of the property owners. It was a win-win, and I just wanted to remind everybody that as we go through this process a year and a half after we did it.
Penny, I did have one question on Lot 2, the access.
Mhm.
You had bullet point number 5 there.
Yes.
Is that in and out access or just in access there?
It'll be finalized when that comes in with a site plan. Right now, they're just subdividing the land.
Okay.
The ultimate access will be approved by Volusia County when the site plan is submitted. There's no end user at this point.
Okay.
Mhm.
Obviously, yeah, because I was looking at the arrow there and reading through it. I would just ask if you make a note that if you have out access there as well as in, that it's a right turn only out.
I believe it's right in, right out, because if you can, I can look at the,
There's no
I
way
can see
to-
on the aerial there, you can't make a left turn
And
there.
I really don't want to put a median cut in
Yeah.
that close to the intersection if possible. I don't think that that would be very safe.
No.
Any other questions or comments up here? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none? Any questions we have for the property developer? It's all good. Okay, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Councilmember Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 19 is first reading of ordinance 2019-31. Okay, yes, gonna use my glasses for this one. An ordinance of the Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending Chapter 42, Section 42-26 of the Code of Ordinances relating to the standards for maintenance of properties to require edging of sidewalks, and Chapter 70, Section 70-36 and 70-48, limiting the number and location of motor vehicle trailers, recreational vehicles, and equipment parked on residential lots, providing for appeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-31.
Second that?
We have a motion and a second. The item is on the floor for discussion. Who's presenting on this one?
Sir, I'll take care of this.
Okay.
This was initiated by the code department, Deb Pearson. She started this when she was in community development and moved to the police department. A couple of years ago, we had some discussion about overgrowth into the sidewalks of grass and possible trip hazards and whatnot, and whose responsibility it was to clean up those areas, both in commercial and residential. So we cleaned that up to make it maintenance responsibility for the edging of the ground cover adjacent to the sidewalks to keep that stuff from drifting into the sidewalks. It is unsightly, but more importantly, it's a safety factor. Additionally, our original ordinance, I think it said recreational vehicles in front of the residence, and what we've seen is some homes have back-to-back residents, and there was no stipulation that said you were limited to 3 RVs or something of that nature in the back of these residences. So people were kind of opening up junkyards in their backyard. So we straightened up the code to reflect that. And those are the two major changes to this code, these two codes.
Okay. Questions, Marilyn?
I do not object to the restriction on the number of RVs on property, but I find the addition of language that owners are responsible to edge ground cover adjacent to sidewalks restrictive and unnecessary. I understand, well, the theory is that presents a trip hazard and it doesn't look nice. I would agree it doesn't look nice. As for whether it presents a trip hazard, I think it depends. If you are adequately mowing your piece of property up to the sidewalk, I think to then require edging it, really unnecessary. And that's the part that I think government has gone too far. And if those sections remain, I'm going to vote against this because I really think that's unnecessary. If the purpose is to prevent a true trip hazard, then I would prefer to see the language to say something about if a property is not maintained to the extent that the property owner's whatever grass or ground cover goes over to the sidewalk, you know, to the extent there's a real problem. That to me addresses what is the core issue. To say that it needs to be edged adjacent to the sidewalk, I think is going too far.
Chase?
I'm wondering, Marilyn looked at my notes. I was gonna have the same comments, actually. I agree with the second part. Matter of fact, Mayor, I was gonna request if we could have 2 separate votes on this item, because I would support the latter portion of it, but I look at the first part as one of those things. I think it's better left to HOAs, and I would have no intention of levying a fine on somebody for not following, for not edging their that part of their yard. So I know I wouldn't support fining somebody for it, so I wouldn't want to put that in the ordinance. And if they don't have an HOA, then, you know, it's people's property, you know. At what point do we say, you know what, you take care of your...
It's not
not their
people's
property.
property, it's their grass encroaching on your sidewalk,
Then the
which
right
will
of
be,
way. It's a right of
which will be your liability should something happen. I understand. It sounds like you personally, or not you personally, that you are willing to take that risk. And I understand that. By the way, these are two different chapters, so you can decide how to deal with that.
Let's-
It's
And
easy.
I appreciate what
Let's
the...
see where discussion goes.
Sure.
And then
Yeah,
if
that's
we
fine.
need to split it up.
You bet.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where, you know, and I appreciate the intent of it. I mean, of course, I want everyone to, I think everybody ought to do it.
I just want to be clear that it's our property,
I got you.
in most cases, right, unless it's a private sidewalk.
Drew? Yeah, I've seen the St. Augustine grass in particular will, even if you mow it up to it will grow out over the sidewalk over time. Not in a week but perpetually unedged. I've seen it grow over sidewalks 3, 4, 5 inches in some places. So now you have a diminished width of the sidewalk, and for you know, elderly people or whatever, it could present a problem for sure. So I'm not like totally against it, you know, and aesthetically, it does look nice when that edge is, you know, taken care of. And a lot of places have the HOAs, they don't allow it now. You have to, I live in an HOA where you cut your grass, you have to edge your sidewalks. So,
If you recall, I think it was Mark Dickinson that came probably maybe a year and a half ago,
yeah.
about the area in front of his house
Yeah.
where it had overgrown into the street.
Yep.
And we cut it back, Lynn, how far? Probably about 3 feet. And that was about a year's worth of growth. So just as a data point, you know.
Yeah, it was over the
Yay or nay.
asphalt and over the shoulder and everything.
was,
and
yeah.
all. Yeah, I remember that. Scott?
Yeah, I would have to probably respectfully disagree as well. If you guys remember Dunlawton a few years ago, the grass in the median east of Nova, all the way to the railroad tracks, had overgrown so far into the roadway that you could no longer see the yellow line. So this grass will overgrow the edges of the sidewalk. That's a serious, aesthetic aside, okay? Yes, it looks nicer when it's edged, but from a safety perspective, if you do not know where the edge of the sidewalk is and where the grass truly starts, I mean, I don't know if you've ever stepped off and found that with your foot, but you go from something that's very supportive to walk and ride a bike on to the edge and not knowing where that edge is by stepping into the grass. So I think there's a lot of reasons why these are city sidewalks. You know, from a liability perspective, city sidewalks, we get these types of cases all the time, right? So these are, I know it sounds like we're just talking about edging grass here, but these are the liability things that we end up spending a lot of money on, and the attorney's office has to go back and defend. And so I think this is if forget the aesthetics for a moment, the safety aspect of it aside is
Yeah,
what I would say
absolutely.
to focus on. And I think knowing where that edge is clearly at all times is a safety reason that we should focus on for doing this. So.
Margaret, is the sidewalk trip and fall still one of the loss leaders coming out of your office?
Absolutely. There's two other things I will mention too, also for council's consideration. Not all of your communities, and particularly the older communities, don't have HOA, so this kind of is a substitute for what an HOA would otherwise do. The other thing is your ordinance has been drafted and it doesn't say you have to edge every time you mow. And
There's a distance,
code
yeah.
enforcement traditionally helps people understand where that line is and are very reasonable in getting corrective action, giving the property owner time to get
Yeah.
used to the standard, and then of course to adhere to the standard, friendly even.
I'm trying to find, I thought I saw it at some point. What is how do we judge, I saw the 12-inch height, how do we judge when we're out of compliance with edging?
When the grass encroaches on the sidewalk.
Well, that's easy to do. I edged on Sunday and my grass is encroaching today, but albeit barely. I live
Can
in
you get
Florida. It doesn't take
Deb
long.
Pearson to go out to the mayor's house real quick? Give him a nice, sir, you,
Just as a practical.
all kidding aside, our 4 code enforcement officers are not gonna look at your house and put a door knocker on saying you're out of compliance. We don't have
They better
the
not look at
people
my
that,
house.
they will, if they have to.
But a neighbor could call
But,
in.
but we're
My neighbors are
we're
calling right now.
we're concerned about the gross encroachment of the sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
And this was I don't know when it was brought up, but I believe it was brought up sometime since I've been here by you all, that it was a concern of yours as well. And I think that the gross enforcement or the gross encroachment of grass where it becomes a trip hazard, or it looks like we're going to lose half the sidewalk, is an issue. I don't think 1 or 2 blades of grass going over the sidewalk is going to be an issue. And before you add a lot of wording into this code to enable or restrict our code enforcement officers, I believe that it was said down at the other end there, our code enforcement people do a great job of going, hey, it's a little long, can you put an edge around that and do something about that?
I agree. The lack, it just seems it lacks measurables there to provide true guidance.
So there's not too many people that I would say would let it go and give the city the I don't give a darn. But that's what we have a magistrate for. If we take a picture of 2 blades of grass and we hold them accountable and we bring them to the magistrate, and the magistrate starts looking at our code enforcement people and go, you don't have anything better to do? Then our magistrate is a pretty good judge of what's good and what's bad. We can put a number on it, but I think the judgment of our code enforcement people is value
Put a
enough.
measurement on the height of the grass. The lack of measurement there, it just seems like it leaves a gray area there. Marilyn, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, Mr. Manager, I understand your point, but you've said a lot of words about gross encroachment. Nowhere in any of this language does it say gross encroachment. It simply says the owner's responsibility shall include the edging of ground cover adjacent to the sidewalks. Nowhere have you defined it, which strikes at the heart of measurement. And I understand that the city thinks this is an issue. Except where is the data that the slip and falls or the trip and falls are related to this grass? That's the problem I've got. Government needs to stop overreach, and unless and until you can provide the guidance with words, I find this to be an overreach. I think it's unclear, and when you say, well, our code enforcement officers are reasonable, I recently have fielded complaints about priorities of code enforcement officers about properties that are really in need versus signs,
Sure.
and them focusing on the wrong thing. So while I would love to say that all staff in all places and all neighbors behave neighborly and reasonable, that just isn't the case. And I
Sure.
think we need to, I'm going to vote against this with this current language, because nowhere have you drawn this in to make it something that the people can understand. You haven't used the word gross violation, and if you do, I think that makes it more understandable. But I'm not prepared to tweak this right now, ad hoc.
Yeah, and I think that's where I have an issue is what happens 15, 20 years from now when we're all gone and this is left for interpretation. I
And
like.
Believe me, Mayor, staff's good with this. If you guys just want to, we brought it based on council comments a couple of years ago. We just finally got to it.
See, I personally, I have a different take.
Sure.
I'm looking at it from liability, and I'm looking for it from, I like a quality city.
Sure.
But I think I would personally like to kick it back to you guys, see what kind of measurables you can come up with in the language.
We can do that. We can take a look at a few
And
things
then we can
and
discuss it, and if
Yep,
it's acceptable,
that's
great. If it's not, then
easy day for
send you down
staff.
the road.
Sure.
Or, Mayor, I would move to separate, or whoever did the original motion, to separate this into
The two different chapters.
Chapter 70, which is about the number of recreational vehicles. Chapter 70 is about traffic, which,
I'm going to let you make the motion, but before you do.
Well, we have
I
something
want-
on the floor, don't we have
I-
to,
Yeah.
don't we have to call a vote on it?
Before we make any motions or entertain anything else, I'd like to hear from the public and
Yeah.
get their input before we make any additional motions.
I have one more question, though. I was going to ask this, and then,
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Right now, would anyone here care to speak to the item? I had a feeling. How you doing, Robert?
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. My concern has to do with subparagraph D on page 2. And it talks about maintenance of improved residential lots. And they eliminate the lot size of 1 acre or less. And it goes on to say, all weeds, grass, and undergrowth shall be cut to a height not exceeding 10 inches. However, nothing in this subsection shall be construed to require natural areas located within larger improved lots to be cut to a height less than 10 inches within such natural areas. I'm a big fan of natural areas, and I'd like to see every lot have a natural area. And I think we should be encouraging natural areas because then natural areas don't have to be watered or irrigated. So, and what constitutes a larger improved lot? Is it over 1/4 acre? Is it over 1/2 acre or over an acre? And is something over an acre even considered a lot anymore? So, yeah, so I would like to see some rewording of that to what constitutes a larger lot that could have a natural area. Because I'd like to have a natural area out in my backyard.
Robert, can you tell me where you saw 10? I'm seeing 12. I don't see 10.
Subsection D, sir.
Subsection D of page 2.
Maintenance of
Oh, less
improved
than 10.
residential
Okay,
lots.
I'm sorry, I saw the 12 there.
Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
Thank you, Robert.
And just one other thing I'd like to be very careful.
12, okay.
When you use the word edge, I don't have an edger. It sort of indicates a machine thing. And so I'm out there with scissors and shears and trimming it by hand.
Uh-huh.
So if the city wants to buy me an edger,
No,
I
the
will
shears are
graciously-
fine.
Keep
I
doing
will
what you're
graciously
doing.
accept.
We'll keep you in mind on that one.
Thank you very much.
With that, my suggestion would be that we would withdraw the original motion and the original second.
make a motion to approve the one item, the one chapter, and then after we take care of that, then we can come back and make a motion of some sort on the second one. My recommendation would be to send that back to staff for some additional work before we consider it again. Any other comments before we make those motions?
One
Margaret?
more quick question for Margaret is, when we do come back, I'd like to, the mayor asked a question, or made a statement, you affirmed that we have a lot of cases with sidewalk holes. I'd like to know how many of those are related to this particular issue.
Grass.
Yeah.
Got it. I can bring those back. As it relates to grass per se, I would say the percentage is low. However, I'll try and get you a better number.
Okay.
The other thing, Mayor, if I may for a moment, because we're making a pretty substantial cut to this ordinance and the idea is to get them separated, I would advise that we go ahead and send both of them back and let us bring them cleaned
back
up
separately?
to you on first reading, and you can do that by a consensus. I'm happy to take that direction and bring it back for another agenda.
Can we still, would it come back to us together? Because I don't
think we need to bring it back separately.
Yeah, I don't perceive it
Well, when you say separately, I'm definitely going to bring you two ordinances, one for the vehicles and one for
Right.
the sidewalks. Now, if
Separate
you want them in the
Okay.
same meeting, that's fine, or if you don't want them in the same meeting,
I-
whichever way you prefer.
And
Take
Mayor,
when they're ready.
I would rather do the RV one, because we can separate that and bring it back to you. The grass one's gonna take a little research, and I might not get to it this month, so.
Okay.
Nobody had an issue with the RV one, why can't we just approve that tonight?
Because they're.
Substantial change.
Yeah, substantial change.
We have to give,
Okay.
good full notice, and that could be questioned. Not that anybody wants to question it unless they have 4 RVs.
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
Is the second withdrawn? Sure. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to send the item back to staff.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Everybody's busy, right?
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, we are sending it back to staff for some additional work. That brings us to item 20, which is the first reading of ordinance number 2019-32. An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, approving Colony in the Wood, a planned unit development amended and restated master development agreement, and the conceptual development plan, CDP, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Which one are we on, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Item 20,
Right here.
2019-32.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-32. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. The item is on the floor and open for discussion. Hi, welcome back. Where have we seen you before?
Penelope Cruz Planning. The subject property is approximately 83 acres. It is currently developed as a mobile home park with 385 mobile home units on it. The council may recall back in 2010, the subject property was annexed into the city of Port Orange. When you annex property into the city, you at that point also have to apply a city future land use and zoning. The current property owner at that time was contemplating a potential redevelopment of the site at some point in the future and wanted to just address that at that point in 2010 while they were annexing and applying those city categories. So at that time, they had applied a mixed-use category along the front half of the property that allowed for office and commercial and multifamily. The property was sold in 2017, and the current owner does not want to redevelop the site. They'd like to keep the park the way it is, maybe add a few units to it. And you may recall last summer we were before you for a future land use amendment to, after the property sold, to change that front portion of the property to that current future land use category that's on the back half, the medium density residential, that orange color on the map. And so that was approved by the city council last summer. So that was the first step. And this is now the second step in the process. So basically, the first step was to change the future land use. The second step is now to amend the zoning. So again, in 2010, while they were annexing and changing land use and zoning to city categories, the PUD was set up to allow the park to continue, but also contemplated that potential redevelopment with office and multifamily and commercial uses. So now that the land use has changed, they're at the second step of changing the zoning to take that redevelopment with those uses out of the PUD and just have it as a mobile home park with the potential to add a maximum of 19 additional units. Where that number actually plays out will be determined with the third step, which is the site plan, because they'll also have to address stormwater and landscaping and things like that. But a maximum of 19 units is what they're asking for in the zoning document that's before you tonight. Like I said, there will be a third step if this is approved, which will be the site plan, and that's where we'll get into the details of design.
And that would come back before us?
No, it's just
Okay.
it's just this minor site plan.
Okay, gotcha.
It will just follow straight land development code standards, which is what's in this MDA document is city standards. They're not asking for any deviations for this additional area. So with that, staff is recommending approval. Applicants here to answer any questions you have as well.
Penny, how many units are in there right now?
385.
So 19.
So maximum of 404, max, if they can get that after all the other infrastructure.
And I drove through there the other day. It looks like they're doing a lot of work to upgrade the clubhouse. That doesn't have anything to do with
With the new
this.
owners, correct. Yeah, the new owners are doing a lot of improvements in there
I
right
mean,
now.
it looks nice. I think the people who live there will enjoy that, but that clubhouse work doesn't have anything to do with these two segments all the way in the front, all the way in the back.
No, they're just doing upgrades to existing facilities that are there now.
Okay. Questions, Scott?
So are we trying to put this back to what it was initially intended
In the
to
front
be?
part, yeah.
Kinda? Okay. Right. No,
And
I
what we
mean-
approved in the summer of last year as far as land use. So this is, you have future land use, and then you have your zoning. So we approved the future land use, now we're doing the zoning piece.
Right, and it seems like this would help us, at least to some degree, minimize future greater traffic impacts.
Yes, it is
Substantially.
definitely a decrease in intensity.
Talking my language now.
There you go.
Will they have to keep the sidewalks edged?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, jeez.
Just kidding.
I don't have any rocks over
Depends.
here.
Go ahead. I'm good.
Drew?
I got nothing after that.
Chase?
Good.
Marilyn?
The only thing I think additional to note is it does provide more affordable housing.
It does.
If they do add these, which I also think is
Indeed.
one of the things we're looking forward to doing.
As long as you're over 55.
There's a need no matter what the age. Any other questions, comments? Would anyone here care to speak to the item?
Anybody?
Nobody. There being none, back to us. Final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stillman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Brings us item 21, first reading of ordinance number 2019-33. Boy, you really went far. Ordinance number 2019-33 is an ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, amending the future land use designation plus or minus 1.6 acres from public institutional to rural transition, 0 to 2 units per acre, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-33.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Hello, stranger.
Hello, Penelope Cruz Planning. Mr. Mayor and Council, if it is your pleasure, I would suggest possibly also opening item 22 as they're both the same, related to similar properties.
I would like that. Council, any objections since they're related?
No, makes
Do
sense.
it.
Do you need a motion for?
Let me go ahead and read that one into the record, and then I'll accept a motion. Ordinance number 2019-34 is An ordinance of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, rezoning plus or minus 24.53 acres located at 1789 Taylor Road from Plan Unit Development PUD to Rural Residential RR and Floodplain Conservation FC rezoning plus or minus 1.68 acres located at 1793 Taylor Road from Plan Unit Development PUD to Rural Residential RR rezoning plus or minus 6.51 acres located at 1795 Taylor Road from Plan Unit Development PUD to Recreation REC and Floodplain Conservation F-C rezoning. Rezoning plus or minus 9.6 acres located at 1815 Taylor Road from Plan Unit Development PUD to Office Residential Transition ORT and Floodplain Conservation FC. Authorizing revision of the official zoning atlas and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019.
I read the wrong one. Did I read the wrong? No, I didn't. That was the right one.
3-4, we already
Okay,
did
yep.
3-3.
Just make-
Motion to approve ordinance number 2019-34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Both items are on the floor and open for discussion. And boy, I tell you what, I had a heart-stopping moment there after reading all that. I'm like,
I was gonna say, can I just say what he said?
Yeah.
Because you did that. That was pretty much covered it all. So the first item is a small-scale future land use amendment. Is just pertaining to this lighter shade of blue parcel here. It's identified as parcel 2. It is one of 4 parcels that has historically made up the 53-acre Cracker Creek Plan Unit development. The Cracker Creek PUD was approved in 2008. It required the construction of a variety of development proposals in the PUD to begin within 2 years and to be completed within 10 years, which would have been February 2018. So that did not occur. There was also a first amendment in 2016, if you recall, for parcel 4 out on Taylor Road for a proposed assisted living facility. That also was not acted on, and that amendment, as well as the overall MDA, has now expired. So what that leaves you with are these 4 parcels here that are currently zoned PUD but do not have an active master development agreement to provide that framework for development. So with the first item, the applicant is requesting to change the future land use for the small parcel here in the middle from public institutional to rural transition, and that is to be consistent with the existing use of the property, and also with, you'll see in the next item, the zoning that's proposed. There it is a reduction in intensity. There is available capacity to accommodate the amendment, and staff is recommending approval of that. The next item the applicant is requesting is the rezoning of all 4 parcels to basically conventional zoning that would match the current future land use designation. And I'll kind of go through each of those just to make it easier to see. I'm going the wrong way on this. So the parcel that's furthest away from the road, you can see the future land use to the right is rural residential with conservation on the bottom. They're requesting to go to rural residential zoning with floodplain conservation zoning. So exactly the same thing, conventional zoning. The next one we talked about is the one that's changing, proposing to change the future land use to rural residential future land use. Also requesting the same rural residential zoning. Same thing. The parcel around it in the middle here, that's where, the main Cracker Creek business is. The future land use is that public institutional with conservation on the bottom. They're requesting the recreation zoning category with floodplain conservation on the bottom. Again, a match of zoning to land use. And then the last piece is the piece out that fronts on Taylor Road. They have a current future land use designation of office residential transition, conservation in the rear. They're asking for a conventional zoning category of office residential transition, floodplain conservation in the rear. So with that, staff is recommending approval of both items. You can answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here to answer any questions you have.
also questions, Scott?
I'll also ask the applicant this, but why would somebody want to do this?
So-
What is the pro and con and benefit?
So the MDA has expired, and without set development plans, going through the process of creating a new PUD without a set development plan is not really a fruitful exercise. When we have a zoning code and a land development code that you can apply for and just follow code without any deviations. So they're just trying to create to apply
they're kind of
zoning.
going backwards.
Yeah. Right now, the properties don't really have any kind of zoning on them. There's no framework for development. If somebody wanted to come in and develop on those properties right now, there's no zoning to guide it because it's expired. So they're just trying to put zoning on the property that
Well,
matches
that's
our land
kind of
use.
what I was thinking. It seems like this is kind of going back the other direction.
Right.
Just following our code.
Any other questions, Drew? They still planning on the assisted living and everything else? Is this going to move that
Well,
along, or?
that project that was proposed at that time, and the applicant can speak more to it if they like, that did not come to fruition.
Yeah.
However, that is still a permitted use on the property with the
gotcha.
conventional zoning. So
Okay.
if one wanted to go there in the future, they would just follow our land development code.
Gotcha. Chase? Marilyn?
No.
Let's hear from him. Come earn your money.
Well, I have it in this case because Penny's done such a good job. But I will tell you that,
And who are you, sir?
I'm sorry, for the record, my name is Glenn Storch and I represent the applicants in this case. And you asked the question. The bottom line is the parties have gone through a dissolution. So some of this is now in one party's name, some of it's in both parties' names, et cetera. And at the same time, we were left, as a result of PUD expiring, with basically this being in limbo. So there was no use of the property. So we had to have some use of the property. The staff has been great as far as working with us, as far as placing the appropriate zoning based on the comp plan. We haven't asked for anything else than that. In fact, I will tell you this, there's also, even though this is low density, we also have a covenant restriction on part of this that will actually lower it even further. So the parties have worked together on this. The staff has worked with us on this. And this is exactly consistent with your comp plan. And to answer one of your questions, the important thing is the one comp plan designation that we're changing lowers traffic significantly. So I would hope that solves all problems, and this is a fairly easy one. And I'm available for
solves
Start
everything,
off,
but-
just start off with that next time, and you're good.
That's right. If
Not,
there's
not
any-
quite that simple, but just,
If there's any questions, let me know. I mean, it's kind of complex, and if you look at all the different parcels and moving pieces, but it really, thanks to Penny, it's fairly simple.
questions for Mr. Storch? Marilyn?
None.
Chase?
No questions.
Okay.
Drew?
Nope.
Scott?
Good to see you, Glenn.
Thank you
I've
very
got
much.
one.
All righty.
You've been here all evening.
I have.
You've been paying attention.
I have.
What month is this?
This is this is September, but more.
And what color is your tie?
But I was going to say, more importantly, Thursday is Talk Like a Pirate Day. I thought I'd bring that up to you.
All right.
So, that's what I'm looking at.
You come back in October and you can wear that pink tie. I'm good with it in October.
Fair
Just-
enough.
Just saying.
Next time.
Thanks, Don.
Good to see you, Glenn.
Would anyone here care to speak to the item? Come on up, Robert.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinig, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. When this came up with the planning commission, my question had to do with sewers, the sewer line, and it didn't. And I talked to the your planning people, and they said that the only criteria is that if there is a sewer line within a certain distance, then they have to hook up to it. So I'm concerned that this property here is going to end up being permitted to have septic systems. And given the proximity to Spruce Creek, I don't think we want that. I mean, I certainly don't want that. So I want to encourage you to start planning now where the money's going to come from and whatever's necessary to get sewer lines into that property so that they not be able to use septic systems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good point. Anyone else here wish to speak to the item? On ordinance number 2019-33, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. On ordinance number 2019-34, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 23 is to approve the renewal of the annual service agreement with Halifax Humane Society. Recommendation is as of such.
You asking for a
I
motion?
need a motion to approve the renewal of the contract with Halifax Humane
So
Society.
moved, so moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
I was pleased to see that they did not raise their rates, because I was not pleased to know that we're still paying $46 every time they take one dog or one cat away. That's quite a bit. Comments or questions on this item? Marilyn?
No.
Chase?
Nope.
Drew?
Nothing on this
Scott?
one.
No.
Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, final comments? None, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Bastian?
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 5-0. Item 24, resolution number 19-43 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, adopting revised rules and regulations relating to the municipal golf course, providing for repeal of conflicting resolutions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 19-43.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. The item's open on the floor for discussion. Jake, who's presenting?
I'll present. These are,
just let Susan off the
or
hook?
Susan. Well, she's stuck in the corner there.
She was standing. She could have tripped over Tim.
This was originally on consent, and I think the rules were discussed with the golf board and presented to the staff and put on the consent agenda. It was asked to be pulled basically with a question from one of the council members on whether the residents had, the Cypress Head residents had been brought into this conversation. And the board has 3, maybe 4 residents that are dual-hatted, Women's Golf Association, Men's Golf Association, as well as resident participant on the board. So they were all part of the collaboration to make these rules up. So the rules have pretty much been vetted through the Kemper team, our Parks and Rec team, our legal team, and the Golf Advisory Board.
Question or comments? Chase?
No questions. I would like to make sure that we're continuing to monitor the speed of play. That's the only comment that I've had lately, but other than that.
What because it's too slow, or too slow for the person who's commenting?
I'm sorry?
Because the speed of play is too slow, or too slow for the person that commented to you? I don't know.
Sometimes they'll get backed up on a hole and there's not a ranger to go out.
Got it.
I know we don't have one always
Got
be
it.
able to do that.
Black Ranger. Got it. We'll let Bob know.
This will still require Chase to fill in all divots that he creates, correct?
I was
Well,
going
tell
to
us-
do next, so go ahead, Drew.
So, Councilman Bastian, that brings up a point. You do recall we did run out of sand.
Yeah.
So we may not be able to fill them all in.
We're going to need those sandbags back soon. Anything else?
No.
Marilyn?
I'm the person that asked to pull this or move it, and I'll tell you why. It wasn't just residents. I was wondering, were pass holders asked, and what I've asked that question of some of the residents at Cypress Head. And while there are seats on the Golf Advisory Board of Representatives, it doesn't necessarily mean that those people that sit on the Golf Advisory Board have effectively communicated with the pass holders and residents who regularly play golf. And I'm hearing that they're not advised about this, but I'd step back even further. I'd say, yes, it is true in the write-up that the rules haven't been updated since 1992. But the question I would ask is, what is the basis, rationale, and need to change them now? Do we know that there's issues? Second thing I would ask is, if you're going to create rules, do you enforce them? And what I've heard from residents is they have many of these same rules, and if you look at them, they said there's virtually no enforcement. There are kids that continue to drive golf carts. You have people that are not supposed to bring alcohol that do. So in effect, you're creating a rule, but you're not doing anything about it. The question I would also ask, what was the process for the rule changes? Were area golf courses surveyed? Were best practices within the state of Florida and nationally used? The mayor and other council people often talk about Port Orange never being satisfied with just being good enough. We want to be the best. So the question I would ask is, have indeed we reflected what our benchmarks or the best practices? And so at the end of the day, particularly because I don't know that the residents and pass holders out there have had a chance to fully digest or comment on these, I would make a motion to table or postpone this until meetings are held or an opportunity is held so that the people that regularly play golf, that are pass holders out there, are given an opportunity or notice that this is occurring. If you know about this, I've had some comments from some of the residents, but I feel uncomfortable moving ahead with a resolution as a body if we don't fully understand the process that has been used, if it didn't involve the people, and if we're not looking at, best practices and those type of things.
You want to try to address some of that?
Do my best. Susan Laval, Parks and Recreation Director. So I appreciate the comments. On why the rules were reviewed is actually it was the board wanted to bring it up. The rules were from 1992. A lot of things have changed since 1992. Therefore, we had about 14 pages of rules, many of which was duplicated, many of which didn't apply any longer. And the board wanted to look at that. They researched, the board members did most of the work, I'll be honest, at the front end. They researched other courses. They brought back changes that they recommended. We spoke as a group at an agended meeting, which it was on the agenda. Then we went to some of the questions we had for our attorney's office that I didn't know the answer to. So our attorney guided us in some of those directions. It went back to the board on another agended meeting to discuss where we were and what the changes were and what we could accept, what we couldn't do, what language we could use, what language we couldn't use. We did talk a lot about enforcement, right? It's like a lot of things. So in the new rules, it actually gives the management company some authority to ask people to leave the golf course. If the if the people aren't abiding by our rules and they've spoke to them about it and they continue to do that behavior, they can then ask them to leave the course with no refund. We also have the city, we can also trespass people if the behavior continues. That's another rule or law that was passed, I guess, here not long ago. So with all those things kind of tied together, that will now allow our contractor to have some authority. It is difficult, right? People come dressed to the clubhouse, correct? They get in their cart, they go off to hole 1, they get to hole 3, their shirts are off, they're playing with no shirts on. We get a call from a resident, says you have golfers out there with no shirts on. We send staff out, staff goes out and says, you guys need to have your shirts on. We go through the thing, we go over the rules with them again. They get back, they get to hole 14, shirts are off, we get another call, we go out there, we say, hey guys, you need to leave the course. And that's kind of how this would work with the new rules. The old rules didn't give that authority to do that. Now, whether or not they end up back here in front of you to appeal that will be a whole another story, and we'll probably deal with that when that happens. So that's kind of what the rules wanted to get right. Many of the homeowners live on the course. Were complaining about the rules and how some things, and there just wasn't any authority built in the rules. So the board decided they wanted to take that on, and they did a fantastic job. They really worked hard. They did this on, their volunteers. They did it on their own time. They gave a lot of thought into it. They brought it back. It was great discussion. Kemper provided the expertise as far as what the industry standards are, which I think was great. And then our staff came in with what we think that would work for a municipal golf course. And that's kind of the document you have. We've been working on it for 4 to 5 months. It's not something we just looked at once, made some changes and set up. It's something they really worked hard on. As far as pass holders go, we have we have trail passes, which are the golf cart passes, which are strictly residents of Cypress Head, because you can't bring your cart unless you live in there, because you can't drive on Airport Road. We have legacy pass holders, which belong to the original builders in the houses, and those attached to the home, so they are residents. The only other pass holders we have are our Cypress pass holders, and right now we only have 10. So it's not a majority of them. We'll be happy to sit down with those 10 or send them a copy of the rules and have them look at it if that's the wish of the council. But we just felt that because we had so many meetings that were noticed, if they're regulars at the golf course, they post the agendas there. We just felt that notice was there. But I'll do whatever direction the council wishes us to go back and look at. But that's kind of our process and what we've been over for the last few months. I hope that answered all your questions. If I missed one, just let me know. I'll be happy to try and answer it.
Marilyn, you got anything else to ask, to
no.
follow up? Chase?
Yeah, one more comment. It's going to require almost a change in recreating the culture in there. I'd like to see the staff there almost overly enforce the rules. You know, you go to any top quality golf course, you go over to the King and the Bear over at the World Golf Village, they're just not going to tolerate any of that stuff. Nope. But at the same time, nobody would even consider breaking the rules at a quality golf course, and a lot of that has to do with the upkeep of the course. People are going to act according to the environment that they're in. So the course isn't well mowed and it's not kept up. That's the kind of clientele we're going to draw. And I think I'd like to see the enforcement of more of rangers out there. Is there a specific time when they'll decide, hey, you know what, we need to send some rangers out there at this particular time of the day or this particular season? Because you can't monitor what you don't see. And time again, I'm always seeing people parked up right next to the green, but nobody's there to enforce that. You know, how many people don't fix their divots afterwards or rake but again, that's got to be strictly enforced. The only way you can do that is having an eye out there at all times. And I know that's a tough thing, but
yeah, it's financial, right?
Of course.
You mentioned Bull and Bear. I think it's over $200 a round. So it's a financial deal. One of the things we did talk to Kemper about was trying during our busy season, so it would be during our winter time, is that we step up that ranger program when our snowbirds are here and when our rounds are at their max. We tend to slow a little bit in the summer. We do get a lot of calls. They do respond to those calls. Nothing is foolproof, right? Many times when we get to the greens and there's a cart close to the green, the staff is being told that they have a disability and that they need to be that close to the green. It's something we've been back and forth with our attorney's office on many times. It's a very sticky topic to discuss, and providing proof for that is not allowable under the law. So therefore, you know, we work with them the best we can. We try and tell them what those accommodations are and how close they actually can get to the green under the ADA guidelines. So those are all the things they deal with out there, and there is a lot, right? Recently we had a group of young guys going to play golf one afternoon. They dropped a cooler off on hole number 2 before they came in to register. Big cooler, put it in the woods there. They came into the clubhouse. A resident called, so they were looking for him, told him what color shirt. The guy comes in. They went out and got the cooler, Cypress Head staff. And then they started him off the back 9, which totally threw him for a loop because their cooler was on hole number 2. They were starting hole number 9. So those are the things they deal with all the time, and still things get bad. We have personal
Susan?
carts that do come onto the course.
Susan, are we sure that wasn't a resident?
Okay, I'm going to stop.
What I'm saying is some of the people that are complaining are the people that are breaking rules
And I
too.
need to stop this right now because I just recognize we're totally off the subject. These are operational questions.
And
which-
these are rules.
Very, very, very good operational questions which we should address when he's here with us in a couple of weeks.
Of course we'll do.
But that has nothing to do with us, the rules themselves. So we'll talk enforcement when he comes in 2 weeks, but right now we're talking about the rules themselves. Are we going to approve the revisions of the rules or not? Or what action we're taking? So we need to get back on subject. And pertaining to the rules, any other questions?
No.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Drew?
Nothing further. Nope.
Scott?
You know, I want to just thank the Golf Advisory Board. It's a group of volunteers that do a lot of work and put a lot of passion. A lot of them are also very, very active, obviously, in the community and in the course. They have a vested interest in the course, which is a nice thing, and they take it serious, and they want to see it thrive, and they want to see it do well. And so I know that we no longer have a council position on the board, but back when we did have that, this was being discussed. So this is something they've been talking about, the need to do for a really long time, and I know they've put a lot of time and effort in. The reality of it is anybody that plays golf out there in Cypress Head, they know who all those board members are. They know, you know, even if they may not see eye to eye, they know who they are. They know how to reach out to them. They know how to provide input. These meetings are all noticed. And so I appreciate the amount of work that they're putting into them. And the one thing for sure is we're never going to get 100% of the people that utilize that golf course to agree on 100% of the rules. But we do have to have some rules in place, and we could talk about the enforcement and the operational stuff at another time. But
Bob Duquette will be here in a couple of weeks, and I think that would be appropriate to discuss it when he's here.
If there's one place that can handle rules, it's a golf course, because anyone that plays knows you're going there, you're doing it my way or the highway.
Which we will discuss in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Were there really players playing without a shirt on?
I was just using that as an example.
Okay, I'm done. We're not talking, we are still off topic. Thank you. Would anyone here from the public care to speak to this item? They're being back to us. On the rules of the course, any other questions or comments? There being none, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
No.
Councilmember Bastian.
Yes.
Councilmember Stiltner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Tremont.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-0. And I,
4-1.
I'm sorry, 4-1. City Attorney,
No comments this evening, Mr. Mayor.
City Manager.
Yes, sir. Two things. First of all, we're battling with this rec facility get-together with the dates. We proposed a couple dates. You came back with one where the preponderance of people may have been available. No, not available.
I just haven't heard from everybody.
Or no comment. So right out there now is October 8th. Is that correct? We're trying to get the consensus that is available. I got to start somewhere, so I'm starting with council. You're the hardest group of folks to get together. We're not doing it on Saturday. Robin, go ahead. You got something to say?
Well, they're the only ones that have to have a quorum.
Right, the only ones that have to have a quorum. We are not doing a joint meeting anymore, but we're encouraging everybody from the Parks and Rec Board. I know Art House will send a rep because they have skin in the game. Parks and Rec Department will be there as well. But we have to nail this down. If you're looking for 100% participation from 100% of the people, we're going to fall behind. And this is tied to grant money, so there's a timeline. It's not next week, but we'd like to proceed with a date. But I think October 8th is what's out there. I have a few yeses. I would like to know if I have all the yeses. And if you can't, check your schedule now. October 8th at
Tuesday.
5:30.
I'm good.
You got my reply, right, Robin? Yeah. I'm not available that day, but that's okay.
I am good, but I have a quick procedural question for the clerk. So because this is a workshop, in the event of this meeting and others like this, in the event a council member cannot attend but can call in and be on speaker service because it's a workshop, there's no voting, is that permitted? I mean, does that violate any
Not for
rules?
this one, because it's not gonna be a sit-down like this.
Okay.
People are gonna be milling around. Were you there for the Riverwalk
Mhm.
meeting that we?
The charrettes that we
We're
did?
doing the same thing,
Yep.
kind of a charrette thing,
Mhm.
where, so.
But what I'm saying
so no.
is legally is it permitted, or we're just saying functionally wise, it's probably not?
Functionally for this one, it's not
Okay,
permitted.
but we could do that for workshop type stuff.
We'll talk further.
Yeah. We can, in any circumstance, I can take your input and,
Yeah.
and,
I'm
you
just
know,
curious
you
about
can't,
the procedural aspect of it, that we're
Right.
not violating any laws or whatever, and that somebody can, because I know things happen.
there are some councils that allow phone-ins, and boy, that doesn't go good, well for them, but, yeah. So, October 8th, sounds like I
I can do it.
have a bunch of yeses. We'll get the rest of the group, see who's available from, and the public's invited to. It's an open house to look at the charrettes and see what's available and see which direction we want to go. Kind of like a visioning thing. So, I wasn't here for Riverwalk, but turned out pretty good. So, all right, we're going to shoot for October 8th at 5:30. The second thing I have, Mary, you asked me to bring this up. Starting October 1st, we are going to change our recycling procedures. I went out to gel last week, and I got to tell you, I came back all excited. I told my wife, you know why we do this, and you know why we do that? And now I take the little plastic rings off my bottles of water, because now I know why you can't put caps on bottles and all that stuff. And I'm about to tell you about all that. But first, we used to export our glass to China, and China would recycle it. Well, they don't do that anymore. The United States hasn't come up with a cost-effective way to recycle glass. So right now, our glass being recycled ends up in the landfill anyhow. So, and we're paying to have the recyclers recycle it to put it in the landfill. So I'd rather just go right to the landfill. It would be a little bit cheaper for us. So starting October 1st, we are going to stop recycling glass containers. They will no longer be collected in the recycling bins. Put all glass bottles, jars, and containers in your garbage. These will be going out in your utility bills. To the lady in the mustard shirt, these will be going out in your utility bills. You have to open your utility bill to read what's on this form. It's my wife, by the way.
I was going to say, let the record reflect that Mrs. Johansson is in the audience wearing
a mustard shirt.
shirt.
Large boxes,
In
I
the
will also
library with a
say,
lead pipe.
large boxes, I always wondered why they have to be cut into 2 feet by 2 feet. Like, the box gets folded up, I'm not gonna cut it into 2 feet and 2 feet. But when you see the recycling truck, the little bin they put it in is about 2 feet 4 inches wide. And that's where it goes. And then the arm picks it up and throws it in the recycling bin. So if it's not 2 feet, they're gonna leave it there, and always have. And there's more stuff on this brochure on what kind of plastics you can and can't. And then there's going to be door knockers put out as well that kind of talk about what non-recyclables are. Glass bottles and jars, plastic grocery bags, newspaper plastic sleeves that your newspaper comes in, styrofoam containers, to-go boxes, egg cartons, pizza boxes. Anything that has food left in it, they don't want. So the reason the caps have to come off your plastic bottles, your clear bottles, is because clear plastic gets recycled differently than colored plastic. So they're allowed to have a little bit of crossover. But if we all keep our caps on and they're all colored or opaque, eventually these don't make it and they go in the regular garbage. So take your caps off and throw them out, and leave your clear bottles in the recycling. So as of October 1st, glass should go in the garbage.
Jake, do you have JPEG forms of any of those brochures?
I'm sure we do.
And we're going to get the whole 9 yards of public.
The whole 9, you're gonna, Christine's gonna go, we're gonna play video. It's going to be on Facebook, it's going to be on Twitter, it's going to be on InstaChat and Snapgram and whatever else you got. It's going out in everything we send you. I'll try to get it in every form or venue I can, yet somebody will come here and tell me we didn't tell them. But we'll get as many people as we can. Oh, go ahead, please.
What happens if there's glass in your bin? Will they just not take the bin?
They will not take the bin.
Because then you may want to have another one of those that they leave. We didn't take your bin.
They are, absolutely. Yep, they are. I had a point, but I lost it.
So when somebody's recycling, they're only going to take stuff that's in those bins, correct?
You can have up to 3 bins, right, Lynn? You can have up to 3 bins, can't have any glass in it. 3 bins, no glass. 3 bins,
Well, with
no
no
glass.
glass, 3 bins should be a piece of cake.
Piece of cake, right? Piece of cake. So, and when we come up with a better recycling technique for glass, we'll get back into the game. But right now, they can't. And this video that we took with David Hunt from Parks and Rec, if you believe that, Christine, myself, and McNeils, we were there for 4 hours total, and it was eye-opening. Pretty phenomenal to see what gel does out there and what they don't do, and where our trash or where our recycling goes and how they utilize it. It's pretty phenomenal. And those people work hard out there.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's
Thank
all.
you. Art House.
We met on August 27th, and things are going good. The big news is that Family Days, they'll have the sidewalk art competition again both days. So stop by and see the artist make art or magic with chalk right on the sidewalk. And they also are going to have a booth, because over the years, many of the student artists that do fabulous work sometimes leave and don't reclaim it. So it'll be an opportunity for you to purchase at a very reasonable price something from an artist who was aspiring, who may be very famous at some point in the future. So you'll do good for the community and you'll make your walls happy.
And we're going to collect those names of the artists. I was just talking to Tim. We have that Down Under project, and it would be nice. A lot of those folks are pretty talented. We'd like them to be part of the future project. So.
And just as a reminder, student art from Art House does get posted outside the doors here in the hallways of City Hall constantly year-round. And take a minute when you walk out tonight, take a look at the good hard work that they do. They produce some terrific results. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, this Thursday is the after hours from 5 to 7 at the Halifax River Yacht Club, and roundtable of elected officials. We had 2 conversations that took up a significant amount of time. One on smart growth. I asked Jake to forward the information to you guys to take a look at it, and certainly I'd like to have a conversation about it as a council here. I don't think we need a workshop, but just as a discussion item after we've had a chance to absorb it, maybe in another 30 days or so. Other than that, there was one comment.
The fire, the fire consolidation?
I'll get that one
okay,
next.
I'm sorry. I thought
Still
you were
on
going-
the smart growth.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like us to take a look at the material. There was one comment that how well we do it now, that every city has a smart growth plan in place. Just because we have smart growth, technically speaking, doesn't mean it's smart growth. I just want people to know that we recognize that. Sometimes the decisions we make are definitely the lesser of 2 evils. If we can put a nice project in place, but at the same time we've swapped zonings, we've lessened densities. There are always people with zoning and future land use in place. As long as property owners own property, they're going to have rights to develop according to that zoning. So that's part of the reason why I just hate the word smart growth. Just because we follow those rules doesn't necessarily mean we're getting the very best we possibly can, but we are getting what could be the very best of what that developer is willing to give us with the rules that are in place, with the investment they want to make. So it's a balancing act between all of that.
There was a good article in the newspaper yesterday about smart growth and the state statutes protecting personal property rights and NIMBYism and things of that nature. It seemed to be a well-rounded article.
And I think that's another thing we got to remember is that we had some of our ability to, with future land use, taken away from us.
Right.
We had concurrency taken away from us at the state level. We had a number of things taken away in the name of business development and job growth, and that's great. But once again, we got to have the balancing act. We no longer control that at our level. And I met with a homeowners association last week, and I brought that up to them, and they couldn't believe it. I'm like, it's true. Well, nobody said anything. Well, I'm saying it now, and I think we've said it before, and it's amazing the things that go on every year in Tallahassee that take local control away. I'd rather people come to City Hall and fill this room and tell us what's on their minds, as opposed to taking the ability from us just to throw up our hands and say, it doesn't matter. I have no control over it anymore. There's nothing more that drives me crazy than that, but that's the way it is. And now, so go ahead and absorb that material, and we'll have a conversation on that. Roundtable of elected officials also talked about fire consolidation. The 2010 study that was done by the Civic League, we kind of revisited that. I basically have two criteria if we ever wanted to consider fire consolidation. One is, do we improve efficiency of the system?
No.
And two, do we save costs? Well, it seemed like the majority of the recommendations that were put in place by the Civic League, collectively speaking, all the cities have worked together to overcome that. And I think that we've made great progress. I think that where we will have differences is where we have different resources. Big cities versus small cities have different resources to put into the fire departments, and that's why we try to help each other out. But I mean, we've come closer to getting training standards the same within all the cities, and I can go on and on about that. But to me, the cost, it did not seem like the cost savings would be that significant, because when you start replacing fire chiefs, you still need section chiefs or battalion chiefs. And I thought it made sense in 2010. Myself personally, I pushed for it on this council and got nowhere with it. There was one other person that liked the idea, but there were three that didn't. But we didn't have those efficiencies between cities at the time. And at the time, we also dispatched with our neighbors. We didn't have countywide dispatch. And because we were dispatching in a region and we were working together as a region, it made sense at the time to look at it as a region. But countywide dispatch took that away. I think the hard work of all the fire chiefs since then has taken a lot of those reasons away. And I admit this is me opining, but I can forward the report that they gave you on the recommendations and whether they've been filled or not. A lot of the things that remain left were basically, there's a county firehouse close to a city firehouse, and because of their proximity, does it make sense? And there are a couple instances of those things that can't be overcome unless you're willing to rebuild a firehouse and do those kind of things, which takes a capital outlay. So knowing that, personally, I don't recommend us going back to the elected officials and ask that it be considered further. And if you guys take a look at that as well and you feel differently, let me know, and I will live with the collective thoughts of this council. But if we can't significantly improve efficiency, and we can't significantly improve costs, those are my two criteria.
Is that open for comments?
You can make a comment. I haven't dropped the gavel yet.
Okay. I got into the fire service in 1985, and I remained in it through 2012. And it's kind of always come up, and you know, they did the big study in 10, and now they're talking about, in my opinion, it would be a waste of money and resources to do another study for something that I don't think could ever work. You're never going to get them all together, and you know, where those county stations are close to city stations, they're going to want to close those stations in an effort to reduce manpower.
Yeah.
And you know, the county's growing
more citizens in every city and throughout the county, and it would be dangerous to reduce manpower. It's hard for them to keep up with the transports now and do these things. In my opinion, we're not gonna see it in our lifetimes.
Well, and what we considered in 2010 was a regional approach consolidation versus a county approach. And really, when it comes to fire services in this county, you have several regions instead of just one. You have to get several, and putting them all together, it would be an extremely difficult thing. What you said about another study, as soon as that was mentioned, there, 2 or 3 of us in the room, myself included, kind of poo-pooed it, because that study was done by a group of individuals, the Civic League, on a private basis.
Yeah.
I personally don't want to put any city money into doing
Absolutely.
another study.
Zero.
That is probably not going to go anywhere.
Correct.
Now, if a private group comes along and says, hey, great, we want to do that, more power to them, and I'll look at that study.
Yeah.
But I personally have no energy or putting any of city resources towards a study that's probably not going to take us anywhere anyway. I just think it'd be a terrific waste of money.
Mayor,
agree.
I would like to throw this at least as a discussion item on an October meeting, and allow the opportunity for Chief Fuston to prepare some comments on what Southeast Volusia pretty much, but the fire chief, some of which you heard, but I think it's worth our public hearing, the ones that don't listen to the minutes of the roundtable, and kind of it's phenomenal what our
Let's put it on the agenda and
departments
take a
are
deeper
doing.
dive.
Yeah, and they're doing some great stuff, and I want you all to know about it.
Just don't do it on October 8th, because I won't be here.
Okay. October 8th, off.
Anything else
But
come
you
before?
already know it.
Anything else come before us
Yes.
this evening?
Yeah. So I've got some comments on that topic too. Thanks for checking.
I wasn't, because I was just simply giving a report.
Yeah, well, if the staff's gonna spend a little bit of time, then they probably should know how we feel, because this is a pretty big topic.
Okay.
I've already had a lot of folks already bring this up to me. So, first and foremost, from I guess a standpoint of community pride and who we are as a city, not all cities are created equal. I get it.
No.
It is what it is. I love the fact that we're a full-service city. I love the fact that we put our standards a little bit higher than other cities may do, not only here regionally, but around the state. I think that's a good thing. I think those are a lot of the reasons why we've become who we are and why people choose to live here. I'm not interested in spending a dime of taxpayer money on another study on something like this. I can tell you that in my lifetime and in my professional career, I've seen consolidation in Volusia County. It has never been good for Port Orange. And Port Orange several times has ended up holding the financial bag.
Yep.
Not interested at all. There may be some pros and cons out there, and I'm certainly willing to listen to anybody that wants to stand there, but I'm not willing to put that risk on our residents and our taxpayers to lose something, or lose control, and lose oversight, and lose the quality. Just not something I'm interested in doing at all. We have mutual aid PACs all over Volusia County.
Mm-hmm.
The county wants to cut back on their services.
And those were one of the things that we talked about.
Yep. Then but by all means, they can start closing down their fire services whenever they're ready to do that, if that's what they need to do. Because they know very, very well that especially in East Volusia County, you have excellent fire rescue services all over East Volusia County that are fabulous anytime the mutual aid bell is rung. And so, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But in terms of consolidating and us giving that up, I think that would be a huge mistake for the city to do that. We're a full-service city. We should remain a full-service city. We should keep our standards higher. We should have the oversight and that stuff like that. Because, you know what? Maybe you save a few bucks, but I think we've already seen that what happens. Look at the ambulance transport. That's a perfect example. The consolidation of the comm center and the dispatch. I remember vividly how good it was when we had our own. And I went through that transition before I left. It was not good. It was not good. We lost efficiency there.
And they talked about that too. They were very honest about trying to figure out, is this the main street in New Smyrna or the main street in Daytona?
Right.
It's
And so if you
Is
go back
this
and you
Orange
look
Avenue in Daytona, or is this Orange Avenue in
Right.
Port Orange?
If you go back and you look over the history of the time, going all the way back to the 80s, we've tried Tri-City consolidations, you know, between us and South Daytona and the Shores, and then we've done some stuff with us and, you know, South Daytona and New Smyrna and things like that. And all the intentions have always been very, very good. But Port Orange has been held, or a lot of the times, we end up holding the money bag on that deal and losing services and efficiency. So I would just be very cautious, extremely cautious about that. But certainly if staff wants to come and talk about these things, then
And I don't think it can hurt us to be, to hear from them and be educated.
I just don't want
a
them to
little bit.
put too much time and energy into something that doesn't have traction.
No, sir, I want to bring you up to speed on what efficiencies we have done that haven't affected our level of service.
Anything else? Anybody else? I'm dropping the gavel.
Drop it.
Have a good night, everybody.